Hey, what's up? It's Steve, aka the Sign Picker. I'm going to walk through the evolution of school signs that I have in my collection. So I just got done going through my entire collection. I pulled out all of the school-related street signs. Now, a few years ago, I did a sign wall of back-to-school signs. If you haven't seen that, make sure you click the link to check that out. Today, I'm just going to be going through some of my school signs. I'm not updating my wall, but I have added some more school signs to my collection that are in this pile. This is the school sign that is the closest to today's standards, which is a 5-sided sign. This one is in the old yellow color, and now they are more of a fluorescent yellow and green. You can see the difference between this sign and that sign because that one down there has a crosswalk on it, and that style has been decommissioned. Instead of using the school crossing sign that includes the crosswalk, now what you will see is this without the crosswalk, and below it will be a panel that's an arrow pointing downward toward the crosswalk. This style here has been decommissioned. I think it's pretty neat though because it has the crosswalk on it. This one's pretty neat because it's got a yellow background, so that means the background of the sign on both sides is painted on versus vinyl reflective sheeting. But in terms of your standard signage, a school sign like this is the only sign that has 5 sides. So much like a stop sign having 8 sides, it makes it very unique. And you could tell what this sign is even if the front of the sign is not facing toward you. Here's a sign that most likely came from the parking lot of a school. It's embossed, 12 by 18, really neat letters here. Probably something in the parking lot just to keep regular cars out of the school bus area. Spider on there. I like the back. You could see where it was originally mounted on the post. It's a heavier sign, real good quality, embossed, really neat painted texture on it, not reflective. Similar, here is a 12 by 18 school bus stop. So this would have been posted out on the road where there was a school bus stop or ahead of a school bus stop. But just like this guy here, 12 by 18 embossed. You can see where the post was, been out there for a long time. Again, I would say this one's from the probably 50s. Looks like it has a semi-reflective surface on it, which was crushed up glass to create that reflectivity. It's got a little bend in it here. I really think that adds to the character. Some of the paint is chipping off on the back, exposing the original gray silver material. So pretty neat sign. Caution school crossing. I love this one because by today's standards, it's so small. Signs today are so big because they've done a lot of traffic studies and have standardized what the size of the sign needs to be as compared to the speed limit of the road. So this one is probably from the maybe late 40s, early 50s. It's yellow, embossed, raised letters. It's got some bending at the bottom where, you know, when you put the bolt through here and it just stays up there for so many years, the sign just bends into the U-channel post. But it's super tiny. It's super small, which I love that. But even for its size, it's pretty heavy. Post markings on the back, just a really cool back. This one came out of Muncie, Indiana. And certainly this sign here predates the standard 5-sided school crossing or school zone sign. This is prior to that standard being established. And you will see a lot of inconsistency in the way these signs are sized, the way they're messaged, if they came before that standard was established. Here is a new old stock sign, and what that means is it's an old sign, older sign, but it hasn't been hung. You can see no post markings on the back. The sign itself is very clean, no scratches, no dents, anything like that. It feels maybe like some enamel on here. It's not reflective, but what I love about this is the iconography of the gun and the syringe. So pretty neat. You don't see a lot of these out in the wild anymore. So just a really cool sign. Keep your drugs, your guns, your needles away from the school. Here is one that is just really old, really dirty, really crusty, a lot of rust going on around it, embossed, 24 by 24, school 15 miles per hour. So these have definitely been standardized. This is not something that you would see in this format. Today, this would be combined with a speed limit sign with a yellow school message across the top. Again, this was before any standardization, so anything goes when it comes to some of these signs from 1950 or before. The back of it's pretty cool. It's just got a lot of rust on there. You could see some of the original back bent up a little bit from where it just hung in the wild for a really, really long time, but that's a lot of rust on there. It's really heavy, just really neat. I love this sign. I bought this on eBay back when eBay was still kind of a new thing, probably in the late 90s or early 2000s. I was checking a lot of eBay because it was one of the first places you can go online that you could get signs, and there was a lot of people selling them. Still true today, but signs have gotten more expensive than they were back then. Here's one that was paid for by the Chicago Motor Club, as you can see down at the bottom. School caution crossing. A lot of old signs would actually have the main message in the middle, so you would read it as middle, top, bottom. So caution, school, crossing. Oftentimes that message that's in the middle would be a little bit larger than the rest of the text that's on the sign. This one, the middle text is almost the same size as the top and the bottom. So it's a little confusing to read, school caution crossing, but it's supposed to read caution school crossing. Chicago Motor Club at the bottom is also embossed, which makes it neat. I don't know, neat to me because the font size there is so small and they've embossed all of those little letters. Given its age, it's a pretty great condition. I know exactly where this sign came from. It was taken down during construction of the road that it was on in the 90s, and that's how I was able to obtain this sign. But it actually used to hang on an wooden electrical post. So you don't see any of the steel U-channel markings on the back. What you do see is a little bit of discoloration from where it was posted to the wooden post. Really heavy. I love these Chicago Motor Club signs where I grew up in Northwest Indiana. I wouldn't say these were common, but these would pop up every now and then around all the Indiana suburbs around Chicago. Here's another one from the Chicago Motor Club. This one's a little bit different because Chicago Motor Club is stacked, whereas that one, it is completely horizontal. Diamond shaped 24 by 24 school legend. This sign came out of Culver, Indiana, and I got a couple of these after I noticed that they had come down. I contacted the town council, and they said for formality I had to write a letter and request the signs, and I did that. They had to take it to their town council meeting, and I was approved to pick up 3 street signs, which was really cool. 2 of them being these Chicago Motor Club signs. This one was on a metal post. There's some bending down at the bottom, which is kind of neat. There are the post markings in the back, and man, there is quite a little bit of a difference between the back and the front. The back is really faded, so I don't know if that faced a certain direction of the sun, or maybe that was just not shaded very well in the weather. But the front, except for the black letters, the front is actually still pretty smooth, still pretty shiny. The yellow is fairly bright, but check out the pattern on the letters here, where the sun has just faded those out. Pretty much all the lettering here is faded out. It is pretty bent up here, not pretty bent up, but just a little curved from hanging out there for so long. You know, timing is everything when it comes to signs like this, and it's just right place, right time. I knew these signs were hanging. I've taken pictures of them before, and then all of a sudden they were gone. So act fast, get with that street department, get with that city or that town, see what happened to those signs. That's what I did here. Sometimes it works, other times it doesn't. This time they were really great about it. So shout out to Culver, Indiana. I've had these signs probably 10 or 15 years now. Here's another 24 by 24 embossed, slow school crossing ahead. That's a lot of messaging to be put on a sign of this size. Again, this was before the school crossing or school advance warning signs were standard 5 shape. So it's kind of Wild West, but I love all of the letters on there, how much messaging there is in this sign. Still pretty cool. This one appears to have been on a green post of some kind, or it was a different color post, and they painted it green. I'm guessing this whole sign at one point or another was repainted, because here you can see there's some chipping that is exposing the original yellow color. And this original yellow color is more aligned with what is on the front of the sign. So I don't know what happened here. There's a bunch of bunch of expletives and stuff written on the back in pencil. Barbie is written on there, so that's great. Barbie movie just came out recently. Pretty neat sign, but the back of this is some shades of green in here, so I don't really know what happened, but here's the yellow poking through, original yellow here. All down around here, it's a lot smoother than this paint is, but the front of it still looks pretty neat. Here's a more modern school bus turnaround, 24 by 24. That's still in pretty good shape. I'm guessing it didn't hang out there very long. This one I would date to, I would say probably the mid to late 90s, just based on the surface that's on here and the standard for reflective surfaces. Looks like the text was painted on. It's not vinyl lettering. The border looks painted on as well. You could just see if you look really close that the edges around the type and the border aren't super crisp. They're not very sharp. There's a little bleed there. So this makes me believe that this was internally produced by some municipality that had stencils or some way to make their own signage. Still a neat sign. They did a pretty good job centering it all up. All of the letters are straight and they have the same baseline. The words bus stop are directly in the middle of the sign. Sometimes with these internally produced signs, the lettering is all off and everything's all crooked, but good job to whoever produced this sign back in the day. Here's a newer sign that I picked up at a antique store recently, and this sign is neat to me because it is specific to Indiana. It's not something that is standard outside of Indiana, certainly not in the Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices. If it is standard somewhere else and you have these in your state, let me know. I'm not entirely positive on that. It does have the updated prism reflective sheeting. Stop when school bus stops. This is something that you just see here. It's got the original Indiana sticker on the back, and just based on how clean this is, it didn't hang out there for very long, but it hung out there long enough that there is a little bit of weathering on it, but it's still pretty brand new, which is cool. I traveled about 2.5 hours to pick this up from an antique store after I saw it posted on their Facebook page, and this is one of the Indiana specific signs that I've been trying to add to my collection for a while. Last but not least is this old school zone sign, which hopefully you can even see the lettering and the iconography because it's so old that the color on the letters, the black, has completely faded off. But what's really neat about this sign is the detail of the lad running across the street there. You could see in his hair, you could see his bangs, you could see his belt, his shoes. All of this is embossed. So take a look at the embossed belt here and all the detail. You just don't see that kind of detail with these signs anymore. You don't see this thickness for street signs anymore either. Everything is a lot thinner, aluminum. This is very heavy steel. A lot of these steel signs, when they were taken down early on and replaced with aluminum, were recycled, used for wartime supplies and things like that. So a lot of these embossed signs, there's still a lot that you can find out there, but many of them were melted down and repurposed. This one's interesting because usually on a 12 by 18 like this with the boy running in the middle, it's usually a slow children sign. Back in the day, back in the 50s, they used to have various messages on here. Watch children, slow children. I don't see a lot like this that is school zone. I might have one more in my collection. I'm not sure if I've ever seen a variation like that out in the wild, but just pretty neat. The bonus is it's heavy, it's embossed, it's got the interesting messaging on it, it's got the very detailed kid running, yellow background, just a really neat sign. Maybe someday I'll get it restored back to its original condition with black letters. Okay, those are just some of the school signs that I pulled out in my collection. If you're not subscribed to Sign Picker on YouTube, on TikTok, on Facebook, on Instagram, please do that and you will be notified whenever I post a new video. If you like my videos, please make sure you hit that like button. That tells me what kind of content you like and what kind of content you don't like. And what you do like, I will try to make more content like that. Thank you, and I will see you in the next video.